Hi, and welcome to the vooPlayer weekly Q&A webinar session. We're going to get started here in just one moment, but before we do, if anybody would be kind enough to confirm that both audio and video connections are working as expected, and then we can get started. Thank you very much. We already got a confirmation even before I asked the question from Randall. Dean is confirming as well, so that's great. Means we can get started. All right, brief introduction. My name is Peter. I'm vooPlayer's product manager, and as mentioned, this is the weekly Q&A webinar where, as the name indicates, we aim to answer any questions that you as users may have, also to provide training on any features or advanced use cases of video in your business, as well as to showcase new stuff that we've been working on, but primarily just to discuss, organize, and prioritize ideas that will help you leverage more value from vooPlayer. The format of the webinar is pretty straightforward, seeing how you figured out how the chat box is working. At any time that you have a question, or if you came prepared with any questions, now would be a good time to type them in there, and then we'll just start answering them in the order that they come in. As mentioned previously, it is a weekly webinar, so if you are unable to attend any of these, weekly replays are available both on our YouTube channel as well as on our Facebook group. I've seen that maybe a couple of last webinars have not been posted. We'll sort that out, and I just noticed that today, and we'll get those up. Also, that reminds me, apologies for last week's webinar where we missed a chance to discuss everything. It was holiday here in Serbia where I am, but somebody else was supposed to take over the call. Just a miscommunication, so apologies to anybody who was stuck waiting on the call. What else did I want to mention? I wanted to mention, oh yeah, so a couple of good resources to get you going with vooPlayer. If you're new, the main one being our knowledge base, docs.vooplayer.com. And there you can find everything vooPlayer related if you want to learn more about it. Mainly, if you're just getting started, the Getting Started section is particularly suited for that occasion, explaining step by step with video tutorials on how you can upload your first video, get going with adding features, and how you can publish that on your platforms. So one more resource that I would like to identify is, so if you just want to know what's latest with vooPlayer and you want to see what other people are talking about and what ideas they have, you can click over here on documentation and support and click on submit on new ideas, and there you can see stuff that we're working on, stuff that's under consideration, and stuff that's recently launched, as well as the ability to submit your own ideas. So all of these are feature ideas and requests from users, and they can indicate how important it is to them, and then other vooPlayer users can indicate how those are how important they are to them as well, and that helps us identify viable opportunities and improve on the relevance of the product. So I don't know if I missed anything. I think we actually missed the last couple of webinars, the one previous due to New Year and this one. So again, apologies for being a bit rusty. Let's see, we got a couple of questions here. Dudley is saying that it's not connecting. Dean is saying several webinars ago you mentioned for beta testers for the new player, just email support. I did on the webinar. Where are you for the beta testers? So Dean beat me to what I was going to talk about. So we just released the beta today, and we'll invite everybody who signed up, but since the question is posed here, I might as well share it if anybody on the webinar wants in on that as well. What did I name that article? Let's say 4.2 beta. That should bring it up. There we go. So this was today. So here are the sort of the basics around that, and well, actually, let me go through it. So once again, just to kind of recapitalize that, we're working on, or rather, we're rebuilding from the ground up. The player component of vooPlayer due to the limitations that the current one has in optimizing performance and improving the experience of it. And basically the end goal is for everything to stay the same as is, just work much better, aside from some interface and interaction feedback improvements. Once sort of everything is completed, you're just going to get a little bit of a fresher feel to it and faster performance and everything like that. So you won't necessarily know that anything major has changed. Aside from the infrastructure, which has been completely revamped in such a way that not only processing of the request is faster, but the infrastructure works in such a way that in the new player, all of the components and modules are included on as per needed basis, whereas in the current iteration of the player, the entirety of the player, meaning that, hey, if you just wanted a basic player with your branding and you just wanted to have that on your platform, you couldn't do that, because with the current iteration, you're pulling the code for everything, for funnels, for custom integrations, and so on. So we've re-envisioned how that is accomplished by only including what's needed for each player and for each viewing session. So how do you participate in this program? You can get started with testing by going to your app settings, and on the right hand side there's a little tick box which says 4.2 beta tester. And once you've done so, in the publish menu where the embed codes and share links are generated, you're gonna have this option which says beta video player app 4.2, and you can just turn that on, and that will generate an embed code which can be used only for beta testing 4.2, and you can get a 4.2 watch page and so on and so on. Do keep in mind the way that we're approaching this beta is we want to make sure that we have the basics down right, meaning that the playback functionality, the streaming performance, the experience and interaction feedback that go into like a viewing session, like a really basic viewing session, are rock solid before we move into integrating all of the, or rather porting over all of the features from the current iteration. So do keep that in mind. So there currently are no CTAs and hotspots and locks and integrations and stuff like that. None of that is currently in the player. It's just like a basic video player that should support all of the formats that you have now. So you could have a video hosted on YouTube, or you can have a HLS segmented encoded video, or you can have just a basic MP4 that you're linking from anywhere. So everything should be supported and everything should be working. But don't expect any of the advanced features to be available just yet. We want to get that basic experience right, and after we do that, we're going to start in the following weeks, as we start gathering feedback. We'll start sharing what the timeline looks like on releasing everything and integrating new features in this beta, or existing features in this beta, and some new ones as well, but more on that soon. And how is feedback submitted? At this point, we're not necessarily worried about any, I don't want to say that we're not worried about bugs. Well, of course, we're worried about bugs, but we're going to go through our own sets of tests as well. But we're primarily looking for what you like, what you don't like, what you think could work better, look nicer, and so on. That's the type of feedback that we're really after, and that's what's important to us, because we want I think comparison in comparison to our competition, as far as the power of features and everything that vooPlayer is capable of, I think hands down we offer the most immersive experience and all of that. So, but where we fall short is really that effectiveness of the player and the smoothness of the player and the performance of it and the experience of it, and that's what we want to start focusing on before we start porting over all of those powerful features, as I mentioned. So that's what this beta is going to look like. As I mentioned, that as you can see, I just released this today. So this is available in the app right now. So anybody who's on the webinar can start playing with this. But also whoever signed up for the beta program tomorrow will receive an email basically explaining everything that I just did on the webinar call, or maybe I'll just link to the webinar call explaining it. So thanks for bringing up that. Dave. Reno is saying your screen is not sharing, not sharing. All right, apparently my screen stopped sharing for some reason, so let me just correct that. You didn't miss much. I just basically opened up what was happening on my screen is I just opened up this link and I was just scrolling through this article and highlighting some of the points on it. So if you were able to open up that link, basically that's all that I did on my screen. Dean has a question. Can we post the 4.2 on our site or not post them and just test it and report back to you? So that's a very good question. So our recommendation is not to use, I think that's even stated somewhere, embed codes and links you are generating now should not be used in production environments. You should use them for testing and submitting feedback only. And the reason for that is that we plan to, again, once we finish with this beta and once we release it to production, replace the existing embed codes which you have with the new player. So for example, you see here, I don't know if I have, yeah, I have the application right in front of me. So if I come over here to, I think I've enabled it on my account. So if I come over here to the publish options for this, and I enable the 4.2 beta, you'll see that the embed code changes and it has vooPlayer underscore new.js and the share link has 4.2 in it and stuff like that. Which is not going to be there once the beta completes. Once the beta completes, you're just going to get the regular embed code and the link as you usually would. So these will no longer be expired. So if you start using these links and these embed codes in production environments, once the beta is finished, that means that you will have to update all of them. Not only that, but as mentioned, not all features are available in this, so not sure why you would want to use them in the production environment if you would, but either way, our recommendation is not to use this with real customers, with real campaigns, and only use it for testing purposes. Test out your actual video. So as you can see, any video can have a generated watch page and embed for that, so you can do that and you can post it on your site like on a demo page that's not accessible for everyone. So you can do that and generate feedback that way, see how it fits into your site and so on. If you had previously maybe issues with the sizing of the player on your platform and so on, all of that's acceptable. I just wouldn't invite people to view it and interact with it at this stage. That's what I was trying to say. Let's see. Now we have no sound. What's going on? Can anybody else hear me? Can I just get confirmation that audio is working as it should? All right, didn't saying that audio is good. All right, cool. All right, cool. Yeah, all right. So that's the announcement that I wanted to make, and thanks, Dean, for bringing it up. Once again, anybody who signed up will get an email, sort of officially inviting them to what I've just described. All right, cool. Now on to questions. Do we have any questions from anybody on the webinar? around vooPlayer. Let me just take a look. I think everybody who's on the webinar is German. Um, Randall is saying, can you please give a short update of any new features or updated features expected to release in the next couple of months? So as mentioned previously, this 4.2 player is more or less our sole focus. Something that we're really focusing on, aside from sort of minor improvements to adding or improving existing stuff, and we're not planning on doing anything aside from this. As far as so that's on new features. Until we sort of release this 4.2, we're not doing any new features because that will be futile in us developing a new feature in this version of the player and then having to port it over, kind of doubling our work. So once we finish this, we're going to have all of the new features, all of the old features ported to the new player. Perhaps even, I don't want to cause any panic, but there's some severely underused stuff that we could easily do without. So we might actually eliminate some stuff that almost nobody is using, but nothing, of course, without letting everybody know and sort of putting together a plan behind it. But nothing new is currently happening aside from this player, this version of the player. And as far as the updates, at the end of month, we usually, month or 2 months, we usually release make the release notes for everything that's been updated or all of the bugs that have been fixed. So that's usually in that. A bit unfair of asking of me to know everything that's been updated in the last, or will be updated in the next couple of weeks. That's usually dozens of items that are worked on. If there are any specific questions with regards to a particular thing that you are interested about or are hoping will be addressed, or a new feature that you're curious about, if there are any specifics around that, we'll gladly address that. All right, cool. Do we have any other takers? Anybody else on the webinar with any other questions? Oh yeah, thanks for the reminder, Randall. I think it was Randall actually who emailed me about this. The Thrive Themes integration. So Thrive Themes, you know how in all of those WordPress builders you have a video element and you have an HTML element, and up until now in all of the builders, the way to embed vooPlayer was to get the code from vooPlayer and then go to the builder and choose the HTML element and then place the entire embed code in it. Thrive Themes, which is one of the leading, if not the leading, provider of the builder, I think it's called Thrive Architect and Thrive Apprentice. We're now supported in their video elements, so you can add vooPlayers just by pasting the share link, and that generates a player successfully. So yeah, we're excited about that, and that's certainly both an exposure opportunity as well as a small improvement in the workflow of our users. So that's something that we're pleased about. Hopefully, and a positive signal to us that we're doing something right and that others are recognizing that. So hopefully that will spread and will be available in even more on more platforms that you're using, be they builders, be they documentation platforms, be they CRMs or anything that you are interacting with that has any video element to it. We want to play a role in that. So hopefully we're still in the early ages of what we can accomplish. All right, cool. Do we have any other questions? Nope. Silent crowd. Just observing what's going on. That's cool. All right. So if there are no other questions, we can wrap up a bit early today. And I just want to thank everybody who took the time to join this week, and thank you for continuing to help us improve vooPlayer, and hopefully we'll see you next week as well at the same time. Bye.